Good morning and welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Peg, which hopefully will be up in time. Even have a little bit of coffee in here. Wow. Um, so I thought that this week I'd talk about something a little bit different. I'm still fighting bronchitis, so if I sound funny, I do apologize. Um, anyway, I thought I'd share a little bit about when I used to blog years ago. I used to have a Monday morning coffee with Peg that would go up. And as I shared last week, when I had my LuLaRoe group and was selling LuLaRoe, I would do Monday morning coffee with Peg. So I thought I'd share a little bit more about that, how it all started. It just was a way for me to check in with different topics, share what's going on, that type of thing. So today I wanted to share with y'all the story of two mothers. And it's pretty special to me because it's about my mothers. And it kind of has to do with the whole thing of, is it nature or nurture that makes us who and what we are? I honestly, even after my experience, I can't tell you it's all one or the other. I think it's a combination of them both. But go ahead and listen to my story and you tell me what you think. Okay? So for those who don't know, I was adopted when I was a year old. We lived in East Hartford, Connecticut till I was about 3. And then we moved to Coventry, Connecticut. We had this beautiful house. Kayla, when you're in Coventry the next time, it was on Swamp Road. It was just down the road. It was beautiful. It was like a acre yard or something, but we had trees along the front. And people would frequently stop by and ask if it was a park or something. It was just that beautiful. The house had been built by a landscape designer. So anyway, I was adopted. 3 years old. We moved out there, and we lived there until I went away to college when my mom and dad had divorced, and Mom moved into an apartment back in East Hartford. So anyway, growing up adopted is really interesting, especially interesting for me because back then, this would have been 1961 when my parents adopted me, we didn't know a lot of the things we know now about personality styles and how you've got the 4 different basic personalities and then they mix and match and all that. We didn't know all that. So my mom, when they adopted me, she was 33 and she wanted a little girl that she could, dress up and be her baby girl. And actually, she picked out my clothes all the way up through and including high school. I didn't know any different. I didn't know enough to I knew what I liked, and I would look at the catalog and look at things, but she always picked out all my clothes, or made them. And she looked at me as mini me. And so if there was something I didn't like that she liked, she took it personally. It was like I was being rebellious because I didn't like something a certain way or whatever. She did the best she could, don't get me wrong. She loved me. She was all the time giving me hugs and telling me she loved me. And I remember her telling me once that when she was growing up, neither of her parents had ever said I love you to her. So I'm certainly not criticizing her. She did a great job. But, she just didn't know me. And I didn't really know me because I just couldn't understand why I was so different than my parents. So anyway, but that was my mom, and I look at a lot of my things in my life that she has affected me. For example, I grew up in a Christian home, and I'm a Christian now, and a lot of my faith came from the things we went through, the things she taught me. My love of the scripture came from her. My love of hymns came from her. So a lot of my values came from who she was. And I'm very glad for that. And she passed away a few years ago with Alzheimer's, and I have one of the things I have of hers that I love the most is her old Bible. And I'm going to show it one of these days. But something I keep close to my desk is a pair of beads. You've probably seen me wear these before. And the reason I keep these is she and I were so totally different. Our coloring, she was a summer, I'm a spring. Our body types were different. The clothes that look good on us were different. And this is one of the few things that she had that actually looks good on me. Matches my colors, matches my style. I'm really in shock that she had this and wore it like she did. I didn't get it for her because everything else she had was her style and not my style. But I keep this close to me where I can see it sometimes and remember her. And of course I wear it a lot. Just to remind me of her and the influence she had in my life. She was a really good mom. I mean, she had her failures. She had her faults. She was too hard on me sometimes. But knowing what she went through as a mother, and she was away from her family, she had no support. My dad was working 12 to 14 hours a day. Seeing now as an adult what she went through, I've got to say she did pretty good. So, but it was hard for her because she didn't understand why she would feel attacked. Why if I didn't like something that she liked. So anyway, I grew up, I got married, had twins, and I decided to search for my birth mother. And I went ahead and I found her, and that in itself is a crazy story. But just to share a little bit about how God was in it, she and her husband were working together. He was a long haul truck driver. They had gone from Florida, where they were living, up to New England to visit family. And then for about 10 days that I was searching for them, they were trying to get back to Florida. But they would go from Connecticut to New Jersey to New York, back to Connecticut to New York, back to Connecticut, to Massachusetts. They just couldn't get a load going home. And they finally got a load going home. And they stopped in at her brother's house in North Carolina. Meanwhile, I had just connected earlier in the week with her sister, my aunt, who I look a lot like, I've been told, and who I sound like. And I connected with her and said, hey, I was looking for Mom, and, if it would work out, I'd like to meet her. So she was an hour away from us when she called home, and her daughter said, hey, Aunt Ruthie is looking for you, nothing major. And she calls Ruth, and Ruth says, your daughter's an hour away from you in North Carolina. So we got together that night. We met at a McDonald's, took the kids up, and that was a special moment. And then I actually got to travel with a friend down to see them that weekend as they were finally making their way down towards Florida. They were stopping in South Carolina for the weekend to drop off part of a load. So I got to see her then, and I'll never forget, we're sitting at the table, we're all talking, we're ordering meals, and not paying attention to what the other person is doing. And she and I ordered the exact same meal. Come to find out, we had the exact favorite candy bar, the exact favorite Lifesaver, the exact favorite, just of so many different things. It was amazing. And we were so much alike. In fact, at one point, we even had the exact same outfit from Walmart from before when we knew each other. That to me was totally amazing. And so then when I got to her place, that was in like March. And when we went down to her place in June for my half-brother's graduation, I walked into her house and I was so shocked. You see, back then there was a company called Home Interiors. And they had pieces like this, which I collected. I actually wanted to collect these pieces of the little twins because I had twins, but I couldn't afford those. So I collected these instead. I walk into Mom's house and she has both of these in her house. Complete sets. She has things in there that I had circled in the Home Interiors catalog. I want this, I want this, I want that. I mean, walking into her house and seeing what I had wished to have in my house was like, whoa. Because you got to remember, I'd lived 26 years without her. 24 years? No, probably 26 years without her. Never knew her. And here we are, we have the exact same decorating things. That weekend, while we were there, I was riding in the car with her husband while she rode in the car with Art and the kids behind us. But in between us was a neighbor of theirs. And I was talking to Ange in that truck, and I was talking with my hands and everything. And come to find out, the neighbor thought I was my mom in the truck or in the car with Ange because I talked just like her. And I thought that was so funny. And I'll never forget, now this is something that never would have happened in the home where I was growing up. But when we were visiting their house, Art went out to use the kitchen sink for something. And he came back in, and Doris, my mom, was kind of looking at him, and he kind of acknowledged her, but, said, no, I wrapped it around or whatever. Anyway, and so what had happened is they love water fights, and they love surprising each other. So she had gone out to that kitchen, and where they had the little sprayer for the hose, she had wrapped an elastic band around the handle, so that when you turned on the water, yes, some would come out the hose, but it would spray you. And so, Art had seen that and hadn't done it, so he went ahead and put it back, though, in place. A little while later, her husband, who was this awesome guy, he was scary to the kids, and kind of to me because he was big and rough and gruff, but he was a teddy bear at heart. Anyway, so he goes out and he goes to use the sink to wash his hands because he's been working on the truck, and you hear him and just explodes. And Doris is in the living room and she's just dying laughing because who did it get? It got Ange. And he comes in and he just kind of glares at her and knows it's her, And but they were all the time pulling pranks on each other like that. And I realized that that's where I got that side of who I am. What I found also interesting is we have been in the same jobs. Not only do we have the same food, but we've done the same jobs. And we've liked a lot of the same things. I mean, it's just amazing. So a few years ago, I told my birth mom, we were talking, and I said, well, I was working again. I said, you know what? I'm trying to collect these. I finally am at a point. I'm going on eBay and collecting them. And she said to me, Peggy, don't do that. Don't waste your money on that. She goes, I've got all of them, and they're in the closet. And when I die, I will tell, I'll tell Donna, my sister, to send them to you. And so sure enough, Mom passed away a couple years ago. And a few months ago, I got all of Mom's Denim Days collection. And so that's really special to me. And it's really funny because to me, this mom and I were not at all alike. This is one of the few things that we actually both would like. And with my birth mom, we had so much alike in so many of the material things. Values-wise, we didn't know each other well enough to really share a lot like I did with my adopted mom. Like my adopted mom and I, we'd get on the phone, we'd talk for a couple hours about church and hymns that were blessing us or things we'd read or something like that. And I never did have that relationship with my birth mom, and I wish I had. And as I said, unfortunately, she has passed away. In fact, my half-sister Donna is, well, she's kind of an orphan like I am too, because she's lost her mother, her father, and her brother within a year and a half or so, 2-year period. So anyway, I thought I would share this story. Is it nature that makes us who we are, or is it nurture? Is it both? I tend to think it's both, because there are things that were inborn into me from my birth mom that definitely were nothing like my adopted mom. And yet there are things I picked up from my adopted mom that I cherish and also hold dear. So the one thing I wish I could do right now is I wish I could go back to these two women who influenced me so much, both genetically and from their input into my lives. I wish that I could go back to them and say thank you. I can't. But so I guess for my Monday morning coffee with Peg, the thought of the day is there somebody in your life who has influenced you and helped you become who you are? May I suggest that while you can, you take the chance to say thank you to them. Let them know how much they mean to you. Let them know how they influenced you. Because you never know what could happen. They might not be here next Monday. I hope they are. But they might not be. So I thought I would let you know, about that. That's just kind of a thought to live with over this week. Is there somebody who has influenced you that you could say thank you to? In the meantime, I'm going to show you once again these are my, I keep forgetting, circle of friends, my denim days. My ever so precious beads. And then once again, I'm starting this week, Lord willing, on this journal. Hopefully I am well enough that I'll be able to follow through. So I'm gonna ask you guys as I start this, do you have any morning routines that work really well for you? If you do, could you share them below? Or evening routines? Because what I'm noticing is I really think I need to have an evening routine to have a morning routine that works well. And so I'm trying to think, what are the things I need to do the night before? Like lay out my clothes for the next day. Like clean off my desk so it's ready for me to work. Some things like that. So what morning and evening routines do you have that work well for you? Okay? That's it. Thank you so much for sharing Monday Morning Coffee with Peg. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week. I do hope to have a video up this week of Stitch Fix. In fact, I'm going to show you one Stitch Fix piece. Just 1 second. Okay, one of the questions I'm going to be asking you guys when I do Stitch Fix is about this top. It's a really pretty top. Really, really pretty. Cold shoulder. However, it is $64. If it was you, would you pay $64 for a top like that? Let me know, okay? And I will be back with you later this week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.